Okay, here are some other ideas on how to come up with logos, but how to finish them off in Illustrator. I've got 3 logos of totally different styles here. I'm going to show you just some of the things that I did to do this. And I know you might say, well, I'm not really going to make a logo like that. I don't even know this. Well, I'd like you to be really proficient in this program. So I'm going to show you some things, some shortcuts to do to make these things happen and how I went about it. And I'm going to go kind of fast, because I don't want you to sit here and watch this forever. But if you see something and you remember it and you're like, hey, I really like that, then, watch this video again, slow it down, stop it, listen to the instructions that I'm giving you, okay? So first one, I got this logo here that looks like a large sort of a caterpillar. Now this one actually wasn't very hard. If I zoom in really close here, you'll see basically all I did here was make a large black oval. I put a green oval over top it, a light green over the top of that. I took my pen tool and just drew some legs. So I just did this and kind of just drew a leg like this. I didn't give it any fill, but I gave it thickness, and then I could just make that line thicker, and that's one of my legs. So that's all really I did, is I basically just made an oval with some legs. And then what I did was, I'll just zoom out here again, is I just copied that and pasted it and copied and pasted and made a new one. Some of these I made a little bit smaller. Some I rearranged the legs. And you can see, to get them into that spiral shape here, basically I drew a spiral to begin with and just assembled it over the top of that spiral like that. And then later I would probably just delete this spiral and get rid of it because I don't need it. It was just sort of to guide me on where my caterpillar was going to go. Okay, so this one is made from a grid, but then how do you get the grid to lean sideways and be like this? So basically, I went to snap to grid and I made something like this. So I just snapped in went to grid, went to snap to grid, made these little squares in various colors, okay, using my rectangle tool. Then what you'll do is you'll take that square. I'm just going to select them. I'm going to go object group. Okay, so they're all grouped. That way I can move this around, and make sure you go back and where it says window and where grid was, make sure that, that window, view grid, make sure that you go snap to grid is off. Snap to grid will make sure that everything snaps right to the line. I want to be able to move this line and not have it snap to a grid right now. Everything's grouped. Okay, now we're going to do something. I'm going to go up here where it says, let's see, object, transform. Nope, I'm wrong. I'm going to go to effect, and I'm going to go to distort, transform, and I'm going to go to free distort. And this picture comes up like this. Oh, wait, I got to click on this first. Let me go back, cancel. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to effect, free distort, and I'm going to go right there, free distort, and this little box comes up. Now it shows you this thing right here. So what I can do is I can grab these corners and I can move them, which will distort my grid. So that's basically what I did with the other thing. I distorted the grid like that. Then I just said, okay, and see what happens to it. I just distorted that grid. Now you can still kind of see close up the original grid here, okay? Now that means that grid is still like that. So if I want to bring it back, I can bring it back. But if I want to permanently make it in this new shape that I have, all I got to do is go up here to go to Object, Expand Appearance, and you can see now it put it in a box, and I can make that smaller, bigger, whatever I need to do. Notice this other one down over here has sort of a wave to it, and I just distorted that again. So if I went up here and I went to Effect, and I went to Warp, and I could do a lot of things. I could go to Arc, which is going to do that to it, and I can bring the arc down and not have it arc as much. So I could do that to it, and it arced it like that. So there's lots of things you can do to it. So basically, I made a grid, went to free distort, and altered my grid to come up with this logo, okay? Now my last logo is this one here. Now this one's got a border on it. So I took a letter G and I put a border around it. Now 2 ways to make a border. 2 ways. One would be to just take a shape. Okay, you know that one. And I'm going to place another shape over the top of it. Then I'm going to select them both. I'm going to go to Pathfinder, do the one where it cuts out the top, and I got a border. Okay? Now, or I could make a border this way. if I take my shape maker, let's say I take my oval, and I draw an oval like that. Now I go up here and I change it so the oval has no fill. It's empty on the inside. And the outside's got a line, but this line, I'm gonna make that line really fat. So I go over here to go stroke, and I'm gonna increase the stroke. And you're gonna watch this thing, see how the stroke now is getting fatter and fatter? Okay, so now this is not really two shapes, it's a line that's really fat. If I wanna make it into a shape though, where it's got an inside and an outside, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go up here where it says Object, Path, and I'm gonna go Outline Stroke. That just made that into a stroke that has an outline around it, okay? So if I zoom in here really close, you can see that, it's got an outline around it, okay? So that is my border that I'm gonna use for my logo, okay? Now, if you take a look at this G right here, this is just a G that I typed into the computer and I came up with that G. But let's say I want to alter that G. I don't want to go with that G the way it is. Okay, so let me zoom in here. There's my G. Okay, I'm just going to make it a color so I can see a little better. I'll make it a red G. Okay, now I'm going to click on my G and I'm going to transform it from a type to a shape. So I go up here where it says type and I go to create outlines. Now it's a shape. Now, if I go to my pen tool over here, you're going to see that I also have this plus and minus sign. What the plus and minus sign is this. If I take my direct select tool, this arrow right here, and I click on the border of that shape, I can get rid of anchor points. I'm going to take my minus anchor point, and I'm just going to get rid of that anchor point and get rid of that anchor point. Now I could take my tool and I could go up there and maybe take this and just move it up there. So I just altered my G. Okay, now if you look down here, I've got a hammer. You said, how did I get that hammer? Well, I didn't waste my time making a hammer. I just went to Google Images and looked up clip art hammer. I found this hammer, which I liked. Okay, then I went File, Place, and I placed it here in Illustrator. Okay, then what I did is I took that hammer. Let's zoom in a little again. I took the hammer, selected it with my general selection tool like that. You can see the X through it. Then I went to Object up here, and I went to Image Trace. Now, since this is only two colors, I went Make and Expand. But if it was multiple colors, I would just hit Make. Okay, but I'm going to go Make and Expand. And I turn this into a shape now, a vector image. Now, if I take my direct select tool, this arrow, and I click in the background, I click in the white, I just clicked on the white, that's it. I can hit delete and the white is gone. So now if I take my general selection tool, I've got a hammer now. And I can use that hammer like any other shape, okay? So what I'm gonna do with that hammer, once I do that, I'm gonna grab that hammer and connect it to my G like that. Then I'm gonna select my G and my hammer, and I'm gonna go to Pathfinder. I'm gonna do this where it combines them all. Boom, it's all combined now into one shape, and that one shape I can make in any color that I want. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, now I wanted to connect that to a border. Notice up here it's connected to a border. So now all I need to do is grab one of these borders that I made. Let's just take this one for right now. And let's say that I brought this over here and decided, okay, I'm going to put that huge border on the outside. I'm not necessarily crazy about this idea, but let's just say I did. And I bring this border here. And I do that. And I do not like that one at all. But, okay, I don't like that idea. I'm going to get rid of this border. Don't like it. I like this other border better. That's more of a circle or an oval. I'm going to bring that one in. And I'm going to put that border right there. And I'm going to do it so that my G just touches it in a few spots. Okay? Now, once again, I'll grab the whole thing. I'll go to Pathfinder. I'm going to join them all. I just joined them all. And once again, that border I could make any color I want. I'm going to give it a black outline. I'm going to give it a red interior or an orange interior or something. Give it a red interior. And how I did this one, I just gave it a red interior, okay, and a black outline. And let me just show you. I'll just take it apart. Right now it's grouped. I'm going to go Object, Ungroup. And I'm going to just show you what it looks like underneath. So here I've got that. Here I've got one that I put underneath it with fat black outlines. And then here just some colored shapes I put underneath it. Okay? So I put the colors underneath it, I put this underneath it, and I put that on top. And I just layered them. I'll go back to Control Z and you can see what they look like when they're all back together. So basically, showed you 3 quick ways to make totally different logos, 3 different methods, okay? This one I just made a little section and repeated it, okay? This one I made a grid and warped it. This one I brought in a hammer, turned it into a vector image by doing an image trace, combined it with my letter G. After the G was made, I did combine it with the G and combine it with a border. Okay, so that's just one more way to make logos. I want you to get really quick and capable with this program. That's why I'm showing you extra things you can do. So your logo should be easier. Once again, if you want to see how I did this, just watch the thing again, zoom in, and you can watch my instructions up close.